Well, hello to my Sunday school friends. I hope that you're doing well. It's awfully good to talk to you. Last time we talked about Jeremiah, remember, and how the Chaldeans came and God gave Judah into their hands because the Judeans, because God's people had been disobedient and they had to learn their lesson. And so God let the Chaldeans capture their king and many of the people, and that's where we're starting our story today. So the people of Judah were carried away into Babylon, and their king and their nobles and most of the men and women and even children had to walk from Jerusalem after it was destroyed to Babylon, where they would have their new life, and they didn't know what that new life would be. The walk was very sad, and it was very hard, and it was very long, and every night they knew that they were further away from their home and from the temple. But when they got to Babylon, their new rulers treated them much more kindly than they had feared. Their new rulers, the Babylonians, let them start their own businesses, let them have houses and fields and land and do good work, and only asked that they keep the peace and obey the laws of Babylon. And the king of Babylon even took some of the young people to be trained to be rulers and leaders in the empire. So we'll talk more about that later. But these people, they had to make new lives for themselves. But God didn't forget them. Remember that Jeremiah continued to give them news and to send them messages about God and what God wanted, that God promised to bring them back from their exile in Babylon if only they would do what they were supposed to do and serve him while they were away. The people listened to those messages. They longed for the time when they could go back to Jerusalem, back to their homeland. The people around them all worshipped idols, but now these Jews, the Judeans, did not want to disappoint God anymore. Suddenly they were serious about following the true God. They remembered that God hated idol worship, and so they would meet in small groups. Then they would talk about their land. They would talk about the temple that had been destroyed, and sometimes they would even weep with homesickness. Sometimes the Chaldeans, the people of Babylon, would ask the Jews to sing for them because they knew that they were skilled musicians, but the Jews just could not find it in their hearts to do. They were too sad to sing the songs of victory and praise of David away from their homeland in this strange land. And so they taught their children how to follow the true God, how to obey God's laws. They listened when the priests and the Levites came and visited them and taught them the law of Moses. They didn't forget the hope that they had, the hope that they had from Jeremiah, that God would bring them back to Jerusalem if they served the Lord faithfully. And God, again, didn't forget his people. God stirred the heart of another man, Ezekiel, while he was in Babylon. He was one of the first Jews who'd been taken to Babylon, and God stirred his heart, and he also made prophecies about how if the people were faithful, God would return them to their homes, would return his people to Jerusalem again. Later on, Ezekiel also said the same sorts of things down in Judah to the people who'd been left. He encouraged them to believe and serve the true God and to do what they were supposed to do. And he talked about a time that God would restore his people to their land, a time when God would restore the temple. So that's where we are now. The people of Israel, the northern kingdom, have been taken away, and they're largely lost to history. We don't know where they went. The people of Judah have been taken to Babylon, and they're there in exile. They're going to be there for 70 years, but God hasn't forgotten them, and God is sending messages. All right, that's where we'll pick up next time. You take care. Know that Jesus loves you like crazy, and I am always glad for these little times where we can do Bible stories together. Bye-bye.